guys. Well, I'm number 2. This is my second Designyatra. I think it's awesome. I came about 8 years ago and met Rajesh, and we've formed this partnership together, and you'll be seeing, hopefully, a bit more of us from the One Club, the ADC Awards, and the One Show. So in the spirit of the conference, which is sort of Mind the Gap, what I'd like to try and do is sort of close the gap. You don't know too much about me, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. Firstly, this big guy here is actually a small dog. He's about that big. His name's Marley. He's playing in our backyard. I'm a water person. I love to mix it up, surf, paddleboard, you name it. If it's got water to do with it, I'm doing something with it. So I studied in South Africa, grew up in South Africa, in a sort of middle-class family. My parents probably struggled to get me through college. And I went to this design school, Natal Technikon, and studied to become a graphic designer there. And in order to bridge that gap, I ended up doing this. I started airbrushing illustrations on surfboards, minivans, motorcycles, and that's how I paid my way through college. So it was a really interesting time, but that also gave me a love for surfing, which I do fairly regularly. I was incredibly fortunate. I was able to secure a big contract with one of the big television stations in South Africa, doing all their below-the-line design work. And this is the studio in Johannesburg that I had at the time. And I ran that for about 14 years in Johannesburg. And the last year, I decided, okay, I need to take on a business partner. And that literally lasted a year. And we ended up parting ways. And I ended up moving on, shut it down, and ended up here. So it was really interesting because Apple approached me to come over with my skills as a designer and as a creative, and to operate as a publishing, entertainment, and new media manager. So I did this for 2.5 years. And at that time, I met the CEO of, it was called the One Club at that stage, and they had this One Show organization. We held this exhibition, and I pitched this idea, because we at Apple were working on this new thing called the internet. And we pitched this idea to the CEO of the One Club, and I said, you know, you should do this award show for interactive advertising. There's banners and stuff, you know, you can do things on there. And so they said, well, can't you get this guy to come out and run it, because we know nothing about this. So I ended up going to New York, and I have to tell you that I've been here 22 years, and the mission of this organization is incredible, and that is to really support and celebrate the success of the global creative industry. So we work pretty hard at that on a regular basis, and our goal is to take the revenue that we generate from our award show, but put it back into the industry and make this industry great. So, you know, talking about make the industry great, I know somebody else is trying to make America great again, but we really are in this era where there's such political divide, certainly in the US, but when you look around the world in various countries, there's a really big discrepancy between the left and the right. And I think, looking at Anita's presentation earlier on, actually Anita judged this work. So Anita was on the jury of the ADC this past year as an illustrator, and this particular piece, well, series, won in the ADC illustration competition, and it's for Der Spiegel magazine, which is a pretty liberal magazine in Germany. It's a weekly publication, and they have about 840,000 subscribers, but it's a very sort of left, liberal German publication. And Adele, who did a lot of these illustrations, Adele Rodriguez, was on the jury a couple of years ago, and he's back this year on the jury. So just incredible times for illustrators, certainly. Another series of illustrations, and this particular one was for Vanity Fair, also features our leader at the stage, much to the chagrin of half of America. So I want to show you a piece that was done in Brazil, and this is from real to reality, and a series of designers illustrated perfectly the effect that the corruption is having on Brazil. And what they do is they take the real numbers where politicians have skimmed the country's resources and money, and what could have been done with that. So this is a beautifully done little video, and the illustration and data visualization, I think, is just fantastic.
Milhões de brasileiros tomaram as ruas.
Os manifestantes entraram em confronto com os policiais.
Hospitais fechados no Rio.
O maior desastre ambiental do país, com milhares de desabrigados.
O surto de Zika vírus, grávidas geram bebês com microcefalia.
O presidente da Câmara, envolvido em vários escândalos.
Milhões de reais.
Bilhões de reais.
Câmara dos Deputados acaba de aprovar o processo de impeachment da presidente.
I really think it's so powerful when a designer is able to really make it clear just how bad these facts are, because you can read it in the press that the politicians have just raided the country of millions, but until you actually see that the whole roading infrastructure could have been reworked had they just received that money that the politicians skimmed is pretty powerful stuff. The next particular piece actually comes from an ad agency, and I think part of this conference theme, which is Mind the Gap, I actually think that designers should embrace the gap. Currently, you'll see quite a few pieces that are up on our stage here come from ad agencies. There is a place for designers to do great things in agencies, seriously, and some of these pieces represent just that. This next piece was done by Droga 5, and they have injected into Droga a number of pretty prominent designers. And they have a gent who's the chief strategy officer there, Johnny Bauer, who has made it his focal point to lead thinking by design in the agency. And this particular piece for the New York Times represents just that. The truth is hard to find, but certainly the truth is worth pursuing.
I see fear. I see desperation. But I also see hope. Thousands of people arriving every day. just think about how bad it must be in their country that they would pick their families, their children, put them on a raft that barely floats, risking their lives to find a place to live and find a place to be accepted. When you find it, you recognize it, and that's when you really start pressing the shutter. I feel it's important to take photographs that are going to make a difference. I'm Tyler Hicks, photojournalist for the New York Times.
I really would urge you guys to go online and have a look. This is one in a series of 5. Incredibly powerful stuff. What they did was they didn't go and try and recreate this stuff. They went to their photographers who were on the scenes. Some of them got really severely injured while doing this. They combed through tens of thousands of photographs, and then they got a really good director to interview these guys, and then they mapped together their own individual reporter's commentary alongside their photographs. Truly inspirational pieces. So, on to a little bit more lighthearted stuff. OkCupid is a dating website, and it certainly believes that dating deserves better. For those youngsters, excuse the understanding of this, but it was a pretty interesting piece because here too, this agency went out to this 2 designers in Milan who produced a toilet paper magazine. I don't know if you know it at all. Does anybody know Toilet Paper Magazine? Yeah, so they went to the 2 designers who produced that and got them to do the art direction, and it's pretty funky, pretty cool. If you were in New York's subway system at all last year, this was everywhere. You could not miss it. Down to finish my novel. All right. So this particular piece I find really surprising, and it shows you what will happen if even in an agency you took a designer and you put them on the team. This next concept is actually for McDonald's, and they obviously have a serious problem with their wayfinding. If you go along a highway in America, every turnoff has a different looking sign telling you that there's a McDonald's down the road. And this gang out of Crosset in Canada came up with this really simplistic wayfinding system for McDonald's, which I think is so incredibly powerful.
McDonald's is one of the most recognizable and consistent brands in the world. But everywhere you go, from major cities to small towns, you'll find signs directing you to the nearest McDonald's that are surprisingly inconsistent. So to create a new wayfinding system, we noticed that the directions were already right there in the logo. By cropping the golden arches into a directional path and reducing the visuals to only what's essential, we transformed an underutilized media space into a simple, unified design system, adaptable to any market around the world. The result was a series of wayfinding billboards that are both helpful and immediately recognizable, using only the brand's colors and a fraction of the logo.
Incredible, man. It's like, just put it down to its simplest thing, distill it. It's just so powerful. So this past year, what we did with the Art Directors Awards, the ADC Awards, is we introduced a new category, Design for Good. We actually introduced 2 new categories. I'll get to the second one a little bit later. But one of the ones that I think is just incredibly smart is if you have a look at the IP that we got, we also introduced intellectual properties. We got absolutely flooded with all sorts of gadgets, and that was pretty cool for me. This particular piece, a Coggy wheelchair, really proves, what design can do for the world by really improving people's lives. I'm going to play you this piece, but needless to say, they actually shipped the whole wheelchair to us. It took a lot to assemble and to get it going, but half the judges were running around in this wheelchair. But more importantly, this is actually helping people gain movement in their legs again.
自分意識はないんですけど、医者との話で一生歩けなくなるっていうのを聞いて、当時は死にたいっていう気持ちが強くて、体を動かすことが好きだったのに、もう何もできなくなっちゃうんだなっていう気持ちで辛い思いはありました。
人間の反射を応用して動かすものなんですね。ちっちゃい赤ちゃんなんか前のめりにすると足をパタパタ交互に出すんですね。コギはその原始的な歩行反射が起きやすい姿勢と、似ているんですね。左が動いてペダルを漕いだよという感覚が脊髄を通って今度右側に来ます。そうすると右側が今度反射で動くんですね。交通事故とか怪我で脊髄損傷、パーキンソン症、脳性麻痺という方までご利用できる製品です。
もう足先が勝手に回っていくっていうイメージですね。夢みたいなっていうか、
これは挑戦しがいがあるなと。もうちょっと軽く作れれば、患者さんの負担も減るし、歩くことはできなかった人は1分もしないうちにスイスイスイスイ動き出して感動しましたね。
なるべく多くの人たちにまだまだ諦めなくて大丈夫だよという、勇気をつけるためにも、諦めない人の車椅子っていうコンセプトを考えました。いろんな人の常識が変わっていくんじゃないかなと。
So design can be as complex as creating an incredibly new wheelchair, or as simple as an installation. And this particular installation that we're going to see happened in Shanghai. It also traveled around China, and it was for an NGO which deals with parents that have lost their children. And it's a huge problem in China. It's a huge problem. We were talking earlier on about, the slave trade and sex trade that's going on. But this exhibition was incredibly moving, and it sort of ties the connection between the parents and those people who have lost children, and they continued hope that somehow they'll get reconnected.
我叫周仁贵，我女儿叫周金勇。2006年1月14日，在成都建国膝盖市中，去过北京、上海，还等于其他地方有好多地方也记不得了。用过各种方式去寻找。我们只希望他过得好，活在这个世上，这就是我们最大的心愿。
高人民法院公布拐卖妇女儿童犯罪案件，最高可判处死刑。
So, Fans of Love is an interesting piece that was done by RGA, and it happened obviously during one of our big TV events in the US, where they always have these cams that, focus in on individuals in the crowd. But this is sort of a remake of what they did a couple of years ago called Love Has No Labels, and it's building on that whole campaign. Incredibly powerful, especially because it's so surprising.
At the 2017 NFL Pro Bowl, one of America's biggest sporting events, the iconic Kiss Cam, which is known for showcasing straight, same-race relationships, was given an unexpected twist. By starting with what people assumed was a couple, and then reframing to find less expected types of love, we used people's instinctive reactions to show them that they were actually more biased than they realized. "60,000 fans turned into millions as a video of the stunt went viral, starting a conversation about love and bias in America. And because we began with the NFL, our message of inclusion extended..."
I'm gonna go on. That's just case study jargon. There's two pieces I want to show you. One is an incredible piece of brand identity, and the second is some amazing typography, but done with a little difference. The first one for brand identity is Doga, and what's truly unique about this is they took brand identity really to its limits, because it's not just on a business card or anything like that, but literally they staged it wherever the company interacts with people. So whether it be on the internet, on a phone, tablet, in a building, all around it, it was truly a very thoughtful way of integrating brand identity completely through all their business. This is really fun, okay? It's a book of typeface called Letterheads. I'm just going to play it. Just enjoy it.
Hello, Art Directors Club judges. Thank you for taking a look at my submission. I'll make it quick. Letterheads is an illustrated book meant to introduce children to the alphabet and to remind adults of the stories that are hiding everywhere around us. I used 3D sculpting software for this and set out to give each letter a unique personality to create an alphabet of diverse characters. It's my hope that readers can see the magic that's hiding in the shapes and symbols they use every day without ever pausing to notice. All colors on the book correspond to the letters, of course. A is apple green, B is burgundy, C is cyan. You get the idea. Each letter is accompanied by a brief sentence, giving parents a jumping off point for questions and stories. Deidre dreams of Doyle, Aiko is all ears. and François, he's famously fastidious. Without further ado, please meet the letterheads.
Fast forward through that. Go and check it out. It's very cool. They, they used 3D animation software to be able to mold those things. It is just magnificent. But the one that I really enjoyed this year, which was also for brand identity, was actually this civic logo that was created by 72 and Sunny for the city of LA. It really is amazing because it was an internal project within the agency. A whole bunch of designers came together and said, we want to try and rebrand LA, yada, yada. They thought it would never, ever happen. They created this brand kit, and then they went to the city, and the city bought it. So this is what happens. Okay, so I'm running tight on time here, and I want to get it all in. This next piece I put in because I met so many great people here from the Netherlands, and the One Club is incredibly passionate about, as I said, making this industry better. And one of the things that we do is we have a very big gender equality program, and I'll talk a little bit more about that just now. But this particular piece was done out of Germany, and they wanted to change the way the national football team in Germany, the women's football team, was seen. Because the German football team always had a logo of a lion, but they were the lionesses, and somebody did something about it. Great designers, changing the world.
For 46 years, the Netherlands women's national football team have been called Oranje Leeuwinnen, the Orange Lionesses. And for 46 years, they've played like lionesses, despite having little support, and with the men's team's lion on their shirt. With the Netherlands about to host the women's 2017 Euros, we decided it was time for a change.
De leeuw in het KNVB-logo is namelijk veranderd.
Het is dus nu een leeuwin geworden, in plaats van een leeuw op de borst.
Het zijn tenslotte de Oranje Leeuwin.
I think that it's something to be really proud of.
The simple but significant change drew some serious attention from media around the world.
Ze hebben een eigen shirt en een prachtige leeuwin op de borst.
Zelfs een eigen logo.
And the badge quickly became a power.
All right, you get it. Awesome. So I want to just leave you with a few little things. I'm going to show you another little video before I get to that. Firstly, the One Club for Creativity is a global organization which is here to try and support the global community, the creative community. We have the two big award shows, and everybody knows the one show, and they will think advertising. Trust me, we've got the most amazing design work submitted. These are just a few pieces that you've seen from it. All the money that we get from our award shows goes into our programming. And I want to play this video for you. It is about our inclusion and diversity program that we offer. We did a boot camp with Rajesh in May, during the Kyoorius Awards. It was in May, and we did it at the YNS agency and the Kyoorius school that they have. Ravi, thank you. Really appreciate that. This is a video that we took just to give you some understanding of what we do in these boot camps. We're bringing them back to India. We want to get more women involved in this industry. Guys are not excluded, but we want to focus on just getting more great creative designers and women in. This is a clip from the boot camp in South Africa, and we now do them in 18 cities around the world. It's pretty incredible.
Now I want them to see themselves in me. That they can look at me and say, I too can become a chief creative officer in this industry. I too can become one of the most talented, most awarded, most celebrated person in this industry and be a person of color because I see people do it who look like me.
Underneath the willows, the ground is...
It's called a boot camp for a reason because it's 4 days of nothing but blood, sweat, and tears and passion. And literally, these kids come in on day one and they got the brief from the client and it was like, okay, now go.
This year is probably quite an exciting brief.
And what is different is a lot of these kids don't have advertising backgrounds, you know? They just love the industry, they love creativity. And this is a cool way, so they're like, hey, I can do this. Like there's an industry called advertising where I can be creative. And so it was so cool to watch them, you know, day one take the brief and like, I have no clue what to do with this brief.
It's closer to a real situation, a life situation in an agency. So it's like a pitch. When I'm a mentor, the rest of the world disappears and I'm happy. And it's a great feeling, it's a great relationship.
Boot camps are probably, especially here, are so important because you get to bring in experts that kids can ask questions and learn so much more information that they could learn by having to struggle at home or to try to get their parents to understand or just simply just not knowing where to even look. The thing that I love about our industry is that you could be the poorest of the poor with just a piece of paper and a pencil, and you can write some of the most amazing ideas. Your imagination is what sets you free.
My name is Tshepiso Mabula, originally from Mount Frere in the Eastern Cape. Part of the struggle of living in the township is, more than anything, getting out of it, but still being able to stay true to yourself. You need to know what you're here to achieve ultimately, and if you don't know that, you're gonna allow small things like class and racial profiling to get you down. And I think more than anything, it's important for us to triumph through those struggles so that those who come after us can have a reference and that it's a little bit easier on them than it was on us. Each person can be the tiny spark that ignites the flame of sweeping change.
For them to see somebody of color who has done it, who is doing it, and doing it at a very high level, that's got to be encouraging. I would hope it would be encouraging to me, and to come over here and actually contribute to that, because I'm doing my thing in the U.S. We have We're All the Black People in the U.S., which is a big one with the One Club annual event where we're really getting some traction in terms of inspiring young black African Americans, and they're actually getting jobs. So to come over here and actually have the opportunity to be on the ground floor of movement happen over here, pretty, happy to help.
So we're creating that movement here. We're going to have boot camps here, and join us as a mentor or come and participate, give back. It's going to be wonderful. Rajesh will, let you know all about it when we next launch the one here.